This is the beginning of Unit 2, so Unit 1 was on the scientific method. Unit 2, we're going to start talking about biology topics, and I want to start off this year talking about these major principles of biology, or these big ideas in biology. So that's what this unit is going to be all about. First off, if we are going to study living things, we need to be reminded of what is life. So what we're going to be studying in this class. And the big thing is that all organisms share 7 characteristics. So all living things are going to have 7 things in common. And let's just review these real quick. Again, we spent a lot of time talking about this last year. I just want you to be reminded of it. So the first one is that organisms are able to respond to their environment. If this bear up here in the top corner, if you come up and tap the bear on the hind end, that bear is going to respond to that. It may respond in scary ways, but the bear will respond to their environment. Secondly, grow and change. A baby bear is very different than an adult bear. So that organism is going to be able to go through growth, and it's going to be able to change in its lifetime. Also, living things must be able to reproduce and have offspring. They're able to transfer their genetic information from the parent to the child. Fourth, all living things have a metabolism. They take in something and create energy with it. Each organism takes in a little different items. Even we differ from bears. We're going to tend to eat different stuff. Sometimes we can eat the same stuff. But every living thing takes in something and produces energy. Plants take in carbon dioxide, and from that they build glucose molecules and then use the glucose for energy. So all living things can take in things from their outside environment and make energy. 5, this is a big one we'll talk about in a little bit, maintain homeostasis. 6, all living things are made of cells. And 7, all living things go through evolution or change and adapt over time. So just make sure you know those 7 characteristics, understand what they are and what they mean. Next, I want to talk about these 4 big principles, these 4 big ideas or major themes that are going to keep coming up in this class. So in order to be good biologists, we need to have a good understanding of these 4 major ideas. And the first one, if you notice down here in the corner, I have just a picture of a microscope, and in that microscope we're looking at cells. So the first major theme that we're always going to come back to is cells. And the fancy name we give this theme is what's called cell theory. And cell theory is this big idea that all living things are made of cells, and that cells can come from only other cells. So much of biology is based around the anatomy of a cell, the working of a cell. Even when we're talking about human anatomy, we need to understand how cells work in order to really have a good understanding of how our human bodies work. So in here, we're going to do some cell anatomy first before we talk about human anatomy. The second one is gene theory. And gene theory is the idea that this DNA molecule, this incredibly complex molecule, large molecule, contains the information for life. And it's that this DNA is passed from parent to offspring, and that's what encodes the genes for the next generation. So gene theory is really important. The third major theme that we're going to talk about, and I put up 2 pictures down here. I put up a picture of a young lady working out, and she is wiping her face because it's full of sweat. And that idea that if your body gets too hot, it sweats to cool itself down. So your body has to maintain a constant temperature when it's too warm. This idea is called homeostasis, or the idea that an organism needs to make sure its internal environment is the same all the time. Even though the outside may be hot, even though it may be 100 degrees out, the inside of your body has to stay at 98.6 degrees. That's a really important theme, especially when we're talking about anatomy. Much of what our organs do and much of what our body does is based upon regulating this. So a lot of the functions of your heart have to do with maintaining blood pressure. A lot of the functions of your hormones and your endocrine system are going to be maintaining blood pressure and water levels and stuff like that. So homeostasis is huge when we talk about human anatomy. The next major theme that sort of makes its way through all of biology is this idea of evolution of life. The idea that over time and over geologic time, so huge frames of time, organisms can change and adapt to their surroundings. And this is apparent in human anatomy as well as organisms and fossil records. So that's going to be the fourth major theme that we're going to encounter. So keep those major themes in mind throughout this chapter, throughout this entire class, and they'll really help you out. A couple other big things I want to touch on here, so other important themes, is the idea of organization. Life is organized. We can categorize it. We can place things into categories. We can organize things based upon what organisms are closest related to. So life is able to be organized and categorized and understand, and there's a general organization to life. We have what's called levels of organization. I just want to touch on this briefly. So we can level things according to their organization, and how it goes is it works like this. We start off with an atom and a group of atoms working together. We call that a molecule. A group of molecules working together, we call that a cell. A group of cells working together to perform one function is a tissue. A group of tissues working together is an organ. A group of organs working together is an organ system. A group of organ systems, do you see the pattern? A group of organ systems working together is an organism. A group of organisms living in the same area is a population. All different organisms living in one area, so all the organisms in Painesville would be a community. If we put a whole bunch of communities together along with their living and non-living things, we call that an ecosystem. And then we can talk about things on the level of the biosphere, or all the life in the planet. So those are what we call the levels of organization. Now, even though life is organized and it makes sense and everything has sort of organizational systems with it, life is still incredibly diverse. There are some weird organisms out there. The duck-billed platypus, the moose. There are organisms that just don't fit into categories, or we have a hard time fitting them into categories because they are so diverse. So even though life is organized, life is diverse. It's very different. There is an enormous range of living things and body shapes and body plans and nutritional requirements and stuff like that are all incredibly diverse. So make sure you understand these major ideas. The ideas of the four major principles, and then the idea that life is organized, but yet life is also really diverse. These are important themes that we'll keep coming back to in this class. Thanks, class. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me right away. I'd love to help you out. Once again, the notes will be up online, so you can have a copy of the notes. And then we'll talk about the project that we're going to do with this. So thank you very much, class. Have a good one. We'll talk to you later.